Yes, folks, it is time for another crossover episode here on Locked On Capitals. We're going to get ready for the second half of the back-to-back, taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Jay Forster helping us out from Locked On Blue Jackets here on the Locked On Podcast Network.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And as we mentioned off the top, folks, crossover edition of Locked On Capitals and Locked On Blue Jackets for this Friday night clash. Friday night for some of us, for other people, maybe not so much. I'm Tyler Kuehl for you Locked On Blue Jackets fans, the insider to the insiders, and the host of Locked On Capitals here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am glad to be joined today, or if you're the one listening on his side of things, I'm glad to be joining the host of Locked On Blue Jackets, Jay Forster, all the way from just outside Manchester, England. Jay, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to tonight's game. It's been a minute since the Capitals and the Blue Jackets faced off.
Yeah, because Columbus got thrown into the Central last year with the realignment for COVID purposes. Washington went to the East. One team went to the playoffs. The other team did not. And then they changed coaches. But Jay, dare I say that the Blue Jackets are doing well right now. And of course, we obviously, before we get into too far into all this, we have to say thank you very much, by the way, for all of you that are tuning in right now, whether you're listening on Locked On Blue Jackets, whether you're listening on Locked On Caps, whether you're watching us on the Locked On Capitals YouTube channel. Thank you very much for making it your first watch and listen today and every day. And as you guys know, because you're not paying for this, it's free and available on all platforms. Because Jay, why would you pay for some great content like this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But Jay, let's get into the Blue Jackets here. This team right now, I was one, and I'm very skeptical on a lot of teams. I said all the California teams were going to be bad because how they were last year. I said the Detroit Red Wings were not going to be an above 500 team, and I've been proven wrong. And I said Columbus was going to sit at the bottom of the Metro, no questions asked. But yet here I am right now talking about a team that is in towards the top of the Metropolitan Division with a 7-3 record. Just how has this happened?
Honestly, well, first of all, I don't want to talk about it too loud in case it scares them off and ruins the whole thing. I assume regression is coming, but right now, goaltending is the big one. Elvis Merzlikins kind of talked a little bit in the off season how he wants to win a Vezina this season. He wants to honor his friend Matisse Kivlenieks, who passed away in the summer, obviously. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna win a Vezina for Matisse." And apparently, that's what he's doing. He's been phenomenal so far this season. I believe he's 6-1, and he's got like a 9.48 save percentage through those games. So,
those right there numbers, you say those and. To anyone you hear 6-1 think, oh, they're a great goaltender. Well, sometimes if you play on great teams, sometimes the goaltending can kind of get subsided a little bit based on the fact they have a good team in front of them. But yeah, to your point, 9.40 save percentage and a sub-2 goals against average. This is the new NHL, Jay, where they want as much scoring as possible. So anyone with under 2 is incredible. Jonas Korpisalo, of course, had a start like that a couple of years ago, but Merzlikins just for some reason has this thing, and I know it's early when typically the cutoff point is American Thanksgiving, December 1st, whatever you want to go with. But right now, there's just a lot of optimism in Columbus with this team and up front as well. And I know he's been banged up a little bit as of late. Patrick Laine seemingly has found, kind of a little bit of a renaissance compared to how he started when he was in Winnipeg down there in Columbus right now.
Yeah, I've been really, really surprised, pleasantly surprised with Laine. He hasn't been scoring a ton. He won't be playing tonight. He's out 4 to 6 weeks with an oblique injury.
Right.
But he has, I think, 10 points through 9 games or something like that. Which I mean is great for a guy that was not very good last season at all. And I think only two of those are goals. And I know people get a bit twitchy when, goal scorers aren't scoring goals, but if he's putting up the points, he's putting up primary assists. Like I'm not worried. If you put up enough primary assists, eventually the goals will come, So
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, the fact of the matter is, compared to last season, and yes, you could look at the coaching change. That always can be a key talking point with how Patrick Laine, because John Tortorella is not Mr. Go offense go, as we all kind of learned, for better or worse. But maybe just, a new coach, new staff around him, maybe he has a little bit of sense of rejuvenation. And the fact that he's getting involved offensively, because last year he was hardly getting any points, let alone goals last season. So eventually, hopefully when he comes back to full health. The other big surprise for me, because I thought this guy was over the hill once he got traded, and I thought it was I thought this was a move showing that Columbus is rebuilding. They're getting rid of Cam Atkinson. Jakub Voracek has seemingly found a nice little home there in Columbus in his first season with the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, for sure. That was a trade that I hated at first. I was really as a fan. First of all, I was pretty emotionally attached to Atkinson. He was one of my favorite players. I assumed he was going to be a guy that retired a Blue Jacket, and he was, after a summer of everyone being like, why doesn't anyone want to stay in Columbus? For us to trade one of the three guys that was super outspoken about how much they loved it in Columbus was,
right.
I don't know, it felt like a bit of a kick in the teeth to the fans. But that being said, Atkinson has been off to a really great start in Philadelphia, scoring a bunch of goals. Voracek, I think, has 9 primary assists so far this season. That's what the trade was for. We needed a playmaker to play with Laine. Atkinson and Laine were never going to gel as line mates, I don't think. They're both shooters. They were both, you can only shoot the puck. Only one player can shoot any one particular puck,
Exactly.
So making that swap was, I think, the best of both worlds for them. It sucks to lose Atkinson, but yeah, I'm super happy with Voracek. If he spends the rest of the year on Laine's wing, I think some very fun things are going to happen with the Blue Jackets.
100%. And I know and of course, our boss, if you will, Sean Woodley, he covers Locked On Raptors. I'm sure he had the same kind of feeling when DeMar DeRozan was traded for Kawhi Leonard. I'm like, oh, why are you getting rid of DeRozan? He's our, one of our best players. And then Kawhi wins them a championship and everyone all of a sudden goes quiet about it. But that's just how sports work sometimes, right, Jay? But I love, I'm looking down the list here, and one player, I look at his name and it's just so funny because I saw him in Dallas this past spring at the under-18s. Cole Sillinger, 18 years old. All right, let's give him a shot. Let's see. And then he's going to go back to junior and whatnot and have some fun there and tear it up there. Well, I'm not going to use the word tearing it up the way he's playing, but he's certainly not looking out of place as an 18-year-old here in a man's league in the NHL.
No, I couldn't be happier with Cole Sillinger's play so far this season. Okay, he's not, obviously with you being based in Michigan, Lucas Raymond is the name on everyone's lips for the Calder. He's not putting up points like Lucas Raymond is, but when you look at the fact that he's the youngest player in the NHL, he's not 19 for a while. He's still just a kid, and he's got, I think, 6 points on the season so far.
Yep.
He just put 3 goals up in 2 games on Colorado, which is a team that I think everyone assumed was going to just ruin everyone this season. We ended up coming out with 2 wins, and that was in big part to the play of Cole Sillinger, who he's been elevated to that top line. He's kind of bounced around the lineup a little bit, but as of right now, he is on a line with Jakub Voracek. Patrick Laine was on that line. Obviously, he's out with injury now. We've kind of plugged that lineup hole with Igor Chinikov, who is another one of our rookies. He's not doing as well points-wise, but he, again, doesn't look out of place. It's his first year in North America. But yeah, couldn't be happier with Cole Sillinger. There was a really good quote that came out just about the end of training camp where Brad Larson was talking about how he keeps looking for a reason to get rid of Cole Sillinger, to send him down, to any reason that he's not ready. And every single time kind of that question comes up, he proves them wrong.
Yeah, that was kind of something when we kind of flip roles here in just a minute. We talk about the Caps. That's what a lot of people were thinking with Hendrix Lapierre, but then now Hendrix Lapierre going back to the Q. But we'll get to all that a little bit later on here. You mentioned Chinikov, who people have to remember. It was just when he got, was that the 2020 draft, right? Or was that 2019?
Yeah, he was picked, I believe, 1 pick before Hendrix Lapierre.
Yeah,
who was my choice for the Blue Jackets to pick. I did a bunch of research on this kid, and then Mcmichael was like, actually, no, we're going to pick this kid out of Russia that no one's ever heard of.
that was literally the best part about that whole story. I'm watching the draft and like Igor Chinnikov, and I'm like, I'm literally like, I have like all the top European skaters. Like this was the first round, and all of a sudden, even when Brian Burke says he's a forward, right? And I'm like, if Brian Burke doesn't know who he is, we're done here. We have no idea.
Yeah.
But now we do know who he is, and
kind of rushing to, because we did like a live draft show for the Locked On Network, and so I was waiting to go forward, and I had all my stuff on Lapierre and a couple of other guys that kind of around that, and then we went live, and I was like, okay, so this Chinnikov kid, all I can tell you is that he is not in the draft rankings that I think anyone had given up. He was an overager, so he was not drafted the year previous.
Right.
No one really knew who he was, but then you look at his past year and change of hockey. He won the Gagarin Cup in the KHL. He was, I believe, the Rookie of the Year in the entire KHL.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and now he's kind of come across to North America. He's playing on that top line. Yeah, the points haven't started to come yet, but again, I'm pretty happy with how that draft ended up going. You know, Yarmo loves to go off the board, and more cases than not, it works out.
Because here's the thing, because Chinnikov, this is why how no one knew he was, because he never played in any of the World Junior tournaments or anything like that. Like, this is his first real experience on North American ice. I think that's why people were so kind of off guard about who they picked, because like he's never played in the World Juniors, which is usually the telltale sign of, all right, this guy's going to eventually make it someday, or even the under 18s. Like, he was so under the radar that you had to go to eliteprospects.com and probably click 3 other Chinnikovs to find him. But yeah, no, like I said, he's gonna be one of those kids that's gonna step up, and this team is looking really good right now, just by the way they've played lately. I mean, you pick up wins, like I said, Colorado. Colorado's not the world beaters that we thought they were, but that's still a good hockey team over there. And picking up 2 wins against them, and once again, especially in this Metropolitan Division where everyone is still above 500, even the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, who are struggling, are in that same boat. So the Columbus Blue Jackets, I'm certain, sitting pretty right now to start things off. We'll take a quick pause here. We're going to flip roles here in just a moment, where Jay is going to ask me a bunch of questions about the Washington Capitals, where I'm going to try to do my best to try to do as good of a job that he has just done. But I have to quick remind you guys about Built Bar. It is American Thanksgiving coming up here, and there's all sorts of good foods and treats, but plenty of them. But you want a yummy dessert, but not so full on the calories. You don't want all that big fat pumpkin pie with the Cool Whip on top. Well, it's perfect time for Built Bar, the new holiday dessert. Feast on something delicious and feel good about it, because they're low calorie, low carb, low fat, and high in protein. And if you get a chocolate one, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Share some of your family gatherings. It'll make things less awkward, but maybe Aunt Betty hasn't tried Built Bar yet. Be sure to go to Built.com and use the promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your first order by using the promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com.
We're going to talk about Alex Ovechkin a little bit later on, I think, because my main question, or surprise, I guess, was Nicklas Backstrom has not played yet this season. And that surprised me, because obviously Alex Ovechkin is taking the goal scoring world by storm. I think he took it personally that he didn't win the Rocket Richard last season, and has decided to make up for it this season.
Yeah, no kidding.
What's that been like playing? I assume Kuznetsov has been on that top line. How's that top line looking for you?
Well, what's crazy about it, Jay, is the fact that I came into this season thinking, all right, Backstrom's out, so there goes the playmaker that Ovechkin has really had on his entire hip for the majority of his time in Washington. And Evgeny Kuznetsov was thrown to the top line with Tom Wilson, because Ovi, Backstrom, and Tom Wilson, despite Tom Wilson every so often kind of getting the red mist and going a little chaos, haywire, has been a very good member of that line, kind of gives the star players, the talent, the skilled players on that line a little bit of space. So we thought, all right, well, Wilson's there, OV's there, but how's Kuznetsov going to do? Because Kuzi was having a very weird year last year. He was under COVID protocol a lot, kept getting COVID. It seemingly seemed like Brian McClellan was going to deal him in the offseason, just by the way that it seemed like Washington wanted nothing to do with Kuznetsov towards the end there. And then Kuznetsov all of a sudden went on this just mind-boggling start to the year where he was picking up points. I think he had 4 points in that first game against the Rangers. And he just kept scoring and was making highlight reel goals and bringing the bird back. And his confidence was coming back. And that's why I think Kuznetsov has been such a key part, because Ovi's leading the team right now. Now, full disclosure, I probably should say something. I forgot to mention stuff off the top for the folks on Locked On Caps. This is being recorded prior to the game against the Detroit Red Wings. 2 reasons. One, Jay, like we always mentioned, is from England, so his time is a little bit further ahead of ours. Also, I am going to Denver with Western Michigan hockey tomorrow. Well, today as we record this, I flew on Thursday, so I had to kind of get settled in, so I wasn't going to be able to do it right after the game. My Locked On Now will still be there, so you guys can check that out on the Twitter at Locked On Caps, but the stats may not be totally accurate, but the trends are there. So when I mentioned Ovechkin having 21 points in 12 games, that will obviously change once the game's over. But the fact of the matter is this: he is 36 years old. This is his 17th season in the league. 16th season in the league. And he is still averaging close to 2 points a game. That right there is, I think, the big thing for me, is that Ovechkin is still producing and he's still having fun. I mean, he's out scoring goals, even if it's like deflections, point shots. He hasn't really, the one timer that everyone loves to talk about, he's only done a couple times this year. It's really been a lot of, in tight goals, hard wrist shot goals. And shoot, he's having so much fun. He's bringing the press at practice at MedStar Center pizza. Like, he's just having fun right now. And this whole team is. And I think the biggest part is that everyone, even that top line, especially with Kuznetsov, they're just playing more relaxed. I don't know if it was because of COVID last year with all the restrictions. Everyone kind of got on edge a little bit. This year, they're just playing a lot more loose. And that's why they've been so successful so far there, Jay.
Yeah, Ovechkin is a player that, and again, you say he's 36. He's got to slow down at some point, right? But
maybe.
What a treat to get to watch Alex Ovechkin play. I saw a Capitals game in Washington in, I want to say 2017, and he's impossible to not pay attention to when you're there. He's phenomenal. One of my favorite players to watch.
My first Ovechkin experience, I was in Toronto. I went to see the Leafs. This was their 2016-2017 season. They had to win a game to clinch a playoff spot, and they're taking on the Washington Capitals in the second half of a back-to-back. And this was right, of course, ended up being where Washington played Toronto in the playoffs in that first round. That was the President's Trophy winning Capitals in 16-17, where they got knocked out by Pittsburgh. But the first shift, and this is like a Tuesday night game. It's still packed at the then Air Canada Center. Face-off is won by the Capitals. They dump the puck in. First of all, crazy that this team would dump the puck in. Ovechkin sees, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Matt Hunwick was going back for the Leafs to get the puck. And Ovechkin just barreled in full speed and nails him into the boards. And all of us in the arena went, oh God, it's going to be one of those nights. He just went off. And I think
he just decides to win games sometimes. It's him and like Nate McKinnon as well have a similar, like, if you watch them just barreling down the wing, you know that you're in trouble.
Well, the crazy part was, like, he throws that big hit. He probably threw 5 or 6 hits. I think he had 1 assist in that game, Jay. But you knew Ovechkin, no matter, even if he didn't score, he makes a difference. And that's been...
Yeah. I think I interviewed Steve Dangle. This is a long, long time ago.
Good boy, Dangle.
We talked about Alex Ovechkin. And he said something that's kind of always stuck with me. And he said he plays in the NHL like I play NHL on the PlayStation.
Right.
He consistently is top 10 in goals, assists, and hits. It's...
And that's the crazy thing,
He's one of the best players to ever play the game.
And he's only been suspended once, eh? Like, that's as physical as he's been for his entire career. Like, his first shift against Columbus in his rookie year, he goes out and nails somebody.
Yeah.
But he's knock on wood, been a relatively clean player when it comes to this physical game. That's what's been the crazy part. And I remember early on, we all said this, like, okay, this kid's banging hard. He's getting 100 points his rookie year, but he can't sustain that. He'll be into his 30s with his body breaking down. I don't know what is in the Russian vodka that he drinks in the summertime, but it's certainly toughened him up, and it's been able to keep him going for this long. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Russian machine never breaks,
No kidding. They didn't just make that the website because of an awesome catchphrase. It's because it never breaks.
Yeah. So from Ovechkin to maybe some lesser known Caps, I was just looking up the Caps roster. It looks basically unchanged. There's not a lot of new guys. Obviously, Anthony Mantha was traded the middle of last season for Jacob Rana. Both
Yep.
of those guys are now out with injury, which is unfortunate. I
Shoulder
think that
injuries.
was
Both
again
have
a very
shoulder
similar.
surgeries.
Yeah,
That's the crazy
that was a
part.
similar trade of both teams needed something, and they're both doing pretty well on their respective teams. But the Caps relatively unchanged from last season, a couple of seasons ago. Is this a winning formula for the Capitals? Obviously, they're doing something okay, but
Well,
how are they looking?
the crazy part is, Jay, is the fact that the plan was to be relatively unchanged. They even went out of their way to go get Vitek Vanacek back from the Seattle Kraken, and when he got taken in the expansion draft, gave up draft picks to have him because they wanted him to be their starting goaltender. And so far, he's certainly showed that he can be the number one guy. He's certainly taken that away from Ilya Samsonov. But with these injuries, with Backstrom being out of the lineup, Oshie being out in a walking boot, and Mantha now out week to week, Nick Dowd on IR now, we've had to have a few kids step in here. And the most notable one of my favorites, because I'm a huge London Knights fan of the Ontario Hockey League, I love Connor McMichael. He has been a breath of fresh air, 2 goals in the last 3 games heading into the game against Detroit, 5 points so far for the youngster. And you've seen guys like Brett Leeson, who has scored twice. One of them set up by McMichael, who has come up from Hershey. Alexei Protas had to get called up because of Nick Dowd's injury and hasn't played a whole lot. We all had high hopes for Hendrix Lapierre after he scored in his very first game on opening night with Wayne Gretzky talking over him on TNT, but that's a discussion for another day. Unfortunately, he wasn't quite progressing like they would have hoped, so they sent him back down to the QMJHL for Acadie Bathurst to kind of develop a little bit more, which is what people thought they were going to do with some other players. But right now they're having to use a different lineup than they would have thought coming into the year with everyone healthy. But that just kind of shows really the drafting strategy of this franchise of McClellan. And of course, Laviolette has a say in that as well. They have a good scouting core to bring in players that can make an impact. And yeah, the minutes are a little bit scarce for some of the new guys, but as the season wears on, you'll see them be more and more comfortable in the NHL. And, that's probably the best thing to happen because we went into this year, Jay, saying this team is old. This team is going to be, 2 or 3 years. The core will be gone because they're all age out or whatever, and they'll all retire. Well, now we're seeing the next wave starting to come through little by little right now. And I can tell you, I'm not going to say the word dynasty yet because that is way too early for that. But the fact of the matter is, you have young players playing effective hockey in their first couple of games out of necessity. And now they're going to be like, hey, you know what? Down the line, if we have to either sign a big contract or let a guy go to retirement or whatever, we have someone that can fill that spot. That's why this team has been so successful so far. And yes, their overtime numbers are horrendous. They are winless in overtime, heck, losing to Detroit early in the season. But I can tell you right now, they are, once again, it's the fun aspect of it because they're having fun. And even with the new guys coming in, the vets are very supportive of them and they're just kind of gelling together, which is why right now they're still one of the top teams in the league, despite everyone thinking, when are they going to tail off? Knock on wood, not yet.
Yeah, it feels very much like, I don't want to compare them directly to the Red Wings and their 23-year playoff streak or something.
25, what's 25 or 26? I remember they got to 25. They made a big whole deal about it, and they still got trounced in the first round. I think that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was the playoff streak started about when I was born, which I think was the crazy thing. But that's kind of the team thing of every time someone in the Red Wings kind of aged out or got traded, they had a guy ready to step up.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is a similar thing. We've all heard the Mark Donk jokes of, they beat up on Toronto with an AHL roster.
Yep.
It was extreme. I tend not to root for the Pens because gross, but that was a lot of fun to watch.
You're telling me the Blue Jackets don't like Pittsburgh? What is this?
I know. It's an unpopular opinion.
You guys have no history at all, right?
But, Washington kind of has that same feel of every time a player starts to decline or, no one's really aged out in a couple of years, but you get the feeling that, as if Ovechkin ever does start to slow down, you have the pieces there to replace them. And that is worrying for a team that has to play them like 5 times a season. Like, I've never enjoyed playing the Capitals.
Well, because for some reason, like when you're cheering for another team, you go into Capital One Arena there thinking, oh, you're playing pretty well. But for some reason, Ovechkin's going to score 2. Backstrom's going to have 4 points. Like, it's going to be something dumb, and you're going to get outshot heavily. And that's what the Capitals have really done so far. And you mentioned the kind of aging out. There hasn't been a whole lot, but to your point, Brooks Orpik retired as a Washington Capital. Marcus Johansson got left to the wayside to go sign with New Jersey. And those were 2 guys that were really important during a lot of their, deeper playoff runs back, a few years ago, but they filled those roles. Tom Wilson came in very admirably, of course. They had to acquire Nick Jensen from the Red Wings I think it was actually was that a trade? I think that was a trade. No, I'm probably wrong, but no matter what, they get him in. They bring in, Martin Fehervary was another guy that's filled in a role quite admirably because Michael Kempney, once again, a guy that unfortunately had a lot of injury problems. Fehervary comes in and boom, there's a guy filling a role. That's what's so important about this team is that you're able to, and right now Hershey's, they're not statistically the greatest team right now, but they're having a good couple players early on and a couple good starts. Zach Vucali got called up as a goaltender to fill in because Vitek Vanacek's a little bit questionable right now. And he's been having a good start, even though Zach Vucali has been a professional now for, 6 years, makes me feel old. But that's the point, is like they have good talent in the system that eventually is going to maybe one day success the current roster to be in a still successful franchise, which is what many people thought was not going to happen. They thought they're going to go back to the pre-lockout Capitals, the Jaromir Jagr Caps, who were, that was a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like, oh, Ovechkin's the only good player on the Caps. And it
was for a couple of years.
For a couple of years it was, but like it's simply not true anymore.
No, this is a real good hockey team, and we're gonna certainly break down the matchup here a little bit more in just a moment, because this is certainly shaping up to be a good matchup. Not just a couple of years ago when the Blue Jackets were contenders and they had Bobrovsky and Panarin. Now this is going to be a matchup between kind of the fresh blood of the Blue Jackets and the still older guard of the Washington Capitals. We'll get to that in just a moment, but I got to remind you guys about BetOnline. They are back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of the basketball, hockey, and football season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all of your NHL action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit by using the promo code LOCKEDON to receive the bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, not anymore, obviously, NHL, boxing, UFC, Vegas, casino games, all the fun stuff. We'll go on in there to take advantage of the amazing offers for the 21-22 season, where BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Jay. Game tonight. Caps, a little bit tired. They played last night against the Detroit Red Wings. Like I said, I say last night like it is Friday. No, it's not. It is Thursday. We're recording this. They come back out of it. And, as of right now, I'm not going to predict who's the goaltender, because as of right now, we don't really know. I think it's Samsonov going in net for the against the Red Wings. Vitek Vanacek got a little banged up, so I'm not sure if he's going to be good to go. We'll have to wait and see on all of that. But Jay, for Columbus, a little bit rested. And after, like I said, a couple big wins coming off here against Colorado, how do you think they are feeling coming into this game tonight?
It's gonna be an interesting one, I think, because we haven't played since Sunday night, so 5 days off essentially. Yeah. Before that, we played. It was a really weird schedule. We played on. I think we played Sunday, then we played Wednesday, then we played Saturday, and then we didn't play until, or we don't play until tonight. And on the one hand, I think rest is good. We've got a very young team, they're not used to, a lot of them are not used to this kind of 82 game season. Even the guys that kind of came into the league a couple of years ago, last season was a shortened season. The season before obviously stopped dead in the middle of March. So I think the rest is good for the young guys, but I also worry that 5 days is a long time to not play a game. I think back when we had a regular bye week, which would have been, 2 seasons ago by now.
Right.
There was, I think, maybe 2 out of the 30, 31 teams won their games coming out of the bye week.
Oh, it was horrendous. I understood it, but it was bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to go one of 2 ways. I think either the Blue Jackets are going to know okay, we've had a lot of rest. We're going against a team that played last night. I don't think Detroit is considered a gimme win
No,
for the
not
Capitals
anymore.
necessarily, after they've decided, actually, we are not going to finish bottom. They've kind of done the same thing as Columbus. They've just decided to be good this season, which is, I'm okay with that. So, they come in against a tired Capitals team that have maybe had to work a little bit harder than they thought they would against Detroit, and just outskate them. That was the modus operandi for the Blue Jackets for a long time. Was, we might not outskill you, we might not have more talent than you, but god damn it, we're going to outskate you. And I don't think that's necessarily the same now under Brad Larson as it was under John Tortorella, but that is the ideal, I think, is we're just going to skate until you can't skate anymore.
And that's really the biggest part too. Sometimes when you outwork a team, because while there are the young kids, I think we're going to see a little bit more of the youngsters play tonight for the Capitals. I think you're going to see a little bit more of Leeson and Protas just because of out of necessity. Once again, I remember I talked with JJ Reagan about it. I said, I'm like, JJ, man, they're playing well. These young kids are getting minutes. Like, he's like, well, yeah, they have to. We're going to run 3 lines in the National Hockey League. That's not how it works. But yeah, to your point, if you're able to outskate a team and get their fatigue levels, because the majority of this roster is still above the age of 30. Now, yes, 30 is not as old as it used to be in today's NHL, but it's getting to that point a little bit.
I mean, when you look at the Blue Jackets roster of, I think 2 players are over the age of 30.
Right.
Like, it's a team of children. And
now, let's be honest. The average age is brought down by Cole Sillinger. It's brought down a lot because of Cole.
Our average age is still like 24 or something stupid. Like,
there's the outlier of this survey. But yeah, to your point, that's going to be an interesting matchup, and it's a real bummer because that's why when Patrick Laine got traded last year, I said to myself, you know what? When this goes back to the Metro, you're going to have the matchup of Ovechkin versus Laine. And unfortunately, he had to get hurt and is out for the foreseeable future.
I mean, I'm not happy about that either. But
well, and that's the thing, because literally you should have 2 guys on each end of the power play saying, all right, boys, back foot 1 tees, let's do this, because that's literally how those 2 guys like to do it. Laine, I think, is more of now Laine has a great one-timer, but you've seen him too. He likes to catch and shoot a little more than Ovechkin does. Ovechkin's like, I don't need this thing any more than I have to. Shoot it. Laine's like, shoot it. And I'm like, all right, what silly am I going to do after this shot? Ping off the crossbar.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he didn't Winnipeg. Not so much in Columbus yet, but he's going to get there.
He's working on it. The problem with the power play is, well, first of all, it's been terrible for a long time. It's pretty good this season. But I think the problem for Laine is on the power play is that Boone Jenner has decided to willpower his way to 30 goals on the power play by standing in front of the net, and just all of Patrick Laine's attempts have been bouncing in off of Boone Jenner. He's stolen like 4 goals from Laine this season so far, so which is where those primary assists I talked about a little bit earlier are coming from. So I assume that eventually he will not hit Boone Jenner when he's shooting the puck, but as of right now, that's kind of how it's been going down.
You mentioned Steve Dangle talking about how he does like Be a Pro, where he's hitting and scoring all the time. Anytime I ever got an assist when I did Be a Pro back in the day, when I had time to play video games, literally, if I ever had an assist, it was because I took a slap shot and there was a rebound or it got deflected. It was not because I passed the puck. I had that puck on my stick the entire time. There's a reason why, folks, that I was a goaltender, because I was very selfish and I didn't want anyone else to do my job. That's why I was a goaltender.
That's how goalies work. Also, we're weird and no one likes us, but that's beside the point.
You don't have to share the puck. You don't have to worry about moving it to somebody or being in the right. Just stand in your net and stop the puck. And if you do that, everyone likes you. You don't? Well, then, as Jacques Plante said, goaltending is not a hard job. Well, how do you like it if every time you make a mistake, a red light comes on behind you and 16,000 people stand up behind you and boo? It's the best job in sports. That's all I can say. But what are your predictions for this one, Jay? That's going to be the big part. And this is why, I never say, whenever someone comes to Tyler, I'm like, oh, the spread right now is 1.5 goals and the over under is 6.5 goals. What do I bet? I'm like, never bet on hockey. Never ever bet on hockey, kids.
It's a sport of voodoo.
I mean, the only team I'd bet would be a for sure bet, and you wouldn't win anything because it's such a lopsided bet, is betting against the Arizona Coyotes, because that's the only team right now I could say I'm like, yep, that's a good bet because it's probably gonna win. But then you have to bet a ton of money to actually win money on games like that. But what if you were to try to bet, and I would only probably bet £1 if I were you on this game, what would you put the score as and how many goals?
I'm gonna say a 4-3 win for the Blue Jackets.
Like, gosh forbid you ever pick the other team, and all of a sudden you lose all your subscribers.
I bet against the Blue Jackets once so far. So every time I've done one of these crossovers, I've said, okay, we're gonna predict the score and the game-winning goal scorer. And I picked against the Blue Jackets once, and it was against the Islanders. I picked the Islanders to win that game, and then obviously the Blue Jackets. I think the Blue Jackets won it in overtime as well, actually. But so I've learned my lesson of betting against my team. So I'm going to say the Blue Jackets win 4-3 in overtime. And I'm going to say Oliver Bjorkstrand as the game-winning goal scorer is my...
That was one guy we didn't even talk about. He has 5. He's leading the team in points right now, and I think he's been another great surprise. But then again, I think, and don't take any offense to this, Jay, or any Blue Jackets fans out there, I think this whole team so far has been a surprise. Am I wrong in saying that, Jay?
No, I think it's weird because obviously I pay attention to this team closer than the average fan, probably. Right. I've been following the team since 2014.
Yeah.
So I know these guys, and every time someone's like, oh, who's so-and-so? Like I was talking to a couple of seasons ago, Josh Anderson was leading the team in scoring, and Sarah Avampato, who does Locked on Kings, messaged me, and she was like, who the heck is this guy? I've never heard of him, and somehow he's leading your team in scoring. And so I always forget that people don't pay a ton of attention to Columbus, but even by Columbus standards, we've lost, Seth Jones is gone, Atkinson's gone, Foligno's gone, Dubois is gone,
Steve Mason is gone. Can't forget the great Steve Mason.
Like Bobrovsky, Panarin, all of our
Duchesne.
Big name guys or people that are guys that people have heard of around the league. Are elsewhere right now, so it's come down to the fact that it's like, okay, yeah, we have Zach Werenski, but apart from Elvis Merzlikins, who love of my life.
Well, how can you not? He just seems like just a happy dude.
He's a delight. He's a great goaltender, and he's a ton of fun. And he drops an F-bomb on national TV on opening night.
Because he can, that's why.
Because, who are you going to tell Elvis not to? So apart from those two guys, I think there is a kind of a consensus of Columbus players of like who? Like people are starting to take notice of Oliver Bjorkstrand just because he's scoring a ton. But apart from that, you look at the roster and you're like, okay, who? Eric Robinson, Alexander Texier, who are these kids? Jake Bean. No one knows who these people are, and I think that's kind of what
I do. I think I'm a well-informed individual. Now, yes, you're right. To your point, the average fan or whatever, yeah. But no, so my gosh, see, I hate picking because I remember when we did the Locked on Panthers one with Armando. I'm like, that's going to be the Panthers just because of the fact that for some reason I felt like I was going to be wrong. And I was 2/3 right. I said the Panthers were going to win. It was going to be in overtime. I just messed up on the score. I did not expect Washington to have a 4-4 game going to overtime. Here's I think the hard part in this, and this is why even if we did record this right after the Caps game against Detroit, we still would not know until like 11 o'clock or noon on Friday of who was going to start in net. Samsonov is starting, according to Left Wing Lock. It will be starting against the Detroit Red Wings tonight. If Vanacek is good to go, I haven't heard anything yet. As I've been literally looking at my phone all day, and no one said anything if Vanacek is going to play.
I mean, you can guarantee that as soon as we finish recording, there'll be an announcement because that's how it works in this business. But
they have all three traveling with them. That's why Fucale is there. It's literally just in case Vanacek can't go. And I said this on the show yesterday. If Samsonov plays back to back, I've just there's like you're not going to win. Just because goaltending, it's harder than it used to be where goaltenders used to be able to play back-to-backs. And I said on this, I'm like, would I rather have a tired Ilya Samsonov after a game against Detroit, who has a great offense, as we've seen, go up against a rested Columbus Blue Jackets team? Or would it be the same, if not better, to have a rested Zach Fucale? Well, yes, it's his first NHL start, but he has played well in the American League, and I think he's overdue for an opportunity to at least play in the NHL. I mean, if it doesn't work, well, shoot, it wasn't going to work with Samsonov. So I'm just going to by default give this one to the Blue Jackets. I'm not going to be as beneficial as saying that their Capitals are going to get a pity point out of this one. I'm going to say 4-2. I'll say the Caps hang around. Unfortunately, a couple will go in here and there, and it'll be an empty net goal or something like that. So, and I'm going to give, you know what, just for the heck of it, I will say Zach Werenski scores because I'm a Michigan fan a little bit. People saw my shirt yesterday on the show. He's going to score against the team that I cover because why not? Because that's how sports works.
That's how it is. Normally, it's the guys that used to be on the team that will score, but I don't think we have any guys that are ex-Capitals or ex-Blue Jackets. So
that's true. Yeah, that would have certainly been an issue. Well, Werenski never scores against the Red Wings, so if you can consider that. But no, I'll go with that. I'll give Blue Jackets this one because I just feel like the Caps are going to be too tired, and if they make the wrong decision in goal, it's not going to help them at all. But you never know. Fucale may stop 54 shots, and all of a sudden be the next big thing in Washington.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I remember a couple of seasons ago, it was
holy moly. Remember how he said right as we stopped recording this, Jay?
Yeah.
So I think Samsonov is actually going to play tonight against the Blue Jackets because right before we did this, Zach Fucale is getting the start against the Red Wings.
Hey.
Well, look at that. Well,
look at that.
First of all,
maybe I'll watch that game. That should be fun. I liked Zach Fucale a lot when he was in juniors.
Oh my gosh,
and he
Halifax?
just has kind of
not with Quebec, with Halifax. Have to specify.
Yes, the 2013 Memorial Cup.
Well, yeah, of course. Then again, look at that team: McKinnon, Drouin, Marty Ferk. Like that team was stacked. They were really good,
unreal. I lost my train of thought. I can't remember what I was going to say now.
Fucale.
No, it was before. It can't have been that Bond.
I'm so sorry for cutting you off. All of a sudden, Tariq El-Bashir comes on my phone and says, Zach Fucale start. I'm like, well, left wing lock. I'm never going to listen to you. That's the fourth time this year because left wing lock was my go-to for, line combo, starting goaltenders, all that stuff. And since it's the day of the game, I thought, all right, we're recording this at about noon Eastern time, which is around the time that they usually make the announcement, and they're pretty well set. Well, left wing lock, you're not getting any more support from me.
Nope.
The 7-year run's over with. But hey, there you go.
I have remembered what I was going to say in terms of. I mean, it's kind of irrelevant now that Fucale is starting tonight. But
right,
a couple of seasons ago, I think it was either New Jersey or Detroit. I can't remember which one. It was definitely a red team, because every team in this league was red. But it was Calvin Pickard, who had not played in literally an entire calendar year, started the game against the Blue Jackets and shut us out.
It was Detroit because he's still down in Grand Rapids. He's still with the franchise in the organization.
I just remember thinking, okay, the Blue Jackets won. This must have been last season. The Blue Jackets were not very good. I was like, okay, this might be an easy win against the terrible Red Wings and a goalie that hasn't played in North America in over a year. And then obviously this happened. So
well, to be fair, Pickard, I will say this: he didn't play in the NHL in over a year because he's been a former NHLer. He played with the Leafs, Philly, Arizona. Was actually a pick of Vegas. That's where Toronto got him from. He was actually in that expansion draft. That's how long. And he was Colorado's goaltender when they were bad. So wasn't like he's never been in the NHL. So, but hey, you know what? Every dog has its day. And unfortunately, it was for Calvin Pickard. And I hope Zach Fucale, at the time I record this, hopefully he gets it done tonight because I will cut the heck out of this thing. I'm like, see, I called it before. And now that I just said that, he's given up 6 tonight. That's just how the puck bounces, right, Jay? So this was fun, man. I'm looking at my clock right now. We are way over time, and this is also over given the fact that we had to pause a couple times because Dingus here forgot to plug in his laptop. But
it's all good. We can cut. And
exactly editing. This ain't
the Lockdown Sends guys do hour and a half episodes every day, so I'm sure it's fine.
We can do an hour and a half long episode. Judas, man, I could have talked with Rachel Anderson for 3 hours yesterday. No, I won't do that. Some people have day jobs and they don't need to see me or hear me that much. We've been chatting up here with Jay Forster. I'm Tyler Kuehl for you Locked On Blue Jackets fans here on Locked On Caps, Locked On Blue Jackets crossover. Jay, tell everyone where they can find all your cool stuff, man.
So you can find Locked On Blue Jackets wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Twitter if you want. We're LO_Blue Jackets. If you would like some Blue Jackets opinions mixed in with maybe some dog pictures or Star Wars opinions, then The little at down here is where you can find
right,
me.
hold on, I got a point. It's right down there. It's over there.
It saves me from having to spell it for you guys. And I think that's about it. Yeah, go listen to Locked On Blue Jackets.
Make them
we have fun over there.
Go ahead and make them after you're done listening or watching this. Go check them out. Go check out Jay for sure. And you can follow me, Blue Jackets fans, at Locked On Caps on Twitter, at TJKU29, which is right there. You can see it right there on the YouTube. I love when I say that, and people are probably listening, and we're like, Tyler, we're listening, Tyler.
You, yeah.
We don't know. Visualize my Twitter handle underneath this beautiful voice. Just visualize. Use your imagination. That's what you got to do. At TJKU29 on Twitter and Instagram, where I post my corgi pups, and she's right now running her up and down the hallway, so she's going to want to play when I get out of this, but that's okay. Thank you all very much for listening and watching this crossover episode of Locked On Capitals, Locked On Blue Jackets, getting ready for Friday night's matchup between the Jackets and the Caps. Should be a fun one. Let's hope that we're both right, because I like being right on my predictions. I know Jay does as well, especially if he wants his team to win.
I like being right, and I also like winning. So, it would be great if I could do both of those things.
I like being right, but if the Caps won, I won't be mad. It's a win-win situation.
This is true.
Thank you all very much for watching this episode. We will see you and talk to you guys again soon. Thank you very much, and have a good weekend.